Hello everyone, it's Tom and Angier here, and welcome to round 5 of the D-Max in Kart Championship at Sandown Park. We are going through Heat 1 here, and we have picked up pole position, again just by chance. That means that in Heat 2 we're going to be last. We've got a whole series of lightweight drivers. We're the heavyweight category. There was a bit of confusion about that on the day, but never mind. So we are a heavyweight, and we've got a load of lightweight drivers behind us, and we are doing the alternate circuit, which is a really kind of good fun circuit. So it's not the normal one that you do when you come down here. It's well, it looks like this. In particular, this is really good fun. We're around the normal turn 1, but you go straight through this section here, and you get some really high speeds. You know, sort of up into a massive braking zone here, and race control is right in front of you. So if you bin it there, then everyone's going to laugh at you. So we managed to hold position around the first lap. But you'll notice that I am taking quite a few defensive lines here, and that is because we just don't appear to be getting particularly good pickup, and particularly in this mid straight here, particularly good pickup from the corners. I'd say that that's something that this kart perhaps was lacking a little bit. In fact, a little bit of lack of overall grip, and also just out of the corners, it just didn't feel like it was particularly strong. Top end, I couldn't see any problem at all. Certainly when we got to this kind of point here, I wasn't appearing to lose any time to anyone. It was more the more coming out of the corners where I noticed that there was a big deficit. Of course, it might be that I'm braking too late and getting on the power too late, but any suggestions, again, as always, very gratefully received. And of course, feel free, if you are one of my competitors, to watch this and learn from me, learn from my mistakes, and we'll all do better as a result. But anyway, at the moment, pleased to be retaining first position. Again, you can see that I'm looking over my shoulder sort of more often than not. I have been told or suggested too that you should never do that. You should never bother looking over your shoulder, because it's not helpful, and it demonstrates to the guys behind that you're worried about. But particularly on this layout, I think, where there is a massive braking zone, it does really help to know where your competitors are placing their karts, particularly if, as is going to be the case here today, you're going to be racing a very defensive race. So it was plain and clear to me from practice that we weren't going to be particularly quick. As always, I don't like to blame the karts. I think if you blame the kart, then you are inevitably going to stop thinking about things that you could have done better yourself, and therefore your progress will stall. But at the same time, what I am going to say is, up until this point, I had a really good day. So I did the Sodi in karts just before this race, and we actually won that one. So on this track, I was feeling, I came into this really confident, having won the heavyweights in the Sodis. We've got yellow flags here, so it's a bit surprised to be so off the pace suddenly in the D-Max. Now, if you look at my right foot, or you look at my right foot just a second ago, what I normally do here is raise my right foot if there's a yellow flag, and you can see the reason for the yellow flag there. We've got a kart which is stopped on track. I always raise my foot to demonstrate to the marshal that I'm coming off the power and I'm not racing. But anyway, I've fast forwarded this, and we are racing again. A bit of a late green flag there from the marshal. I could see that he had the green flag in his hand. I wasn't sure whether to go or not, but he waved it just at the last minute. So we are racing again, defensive into this corner here. Now, neither in the D-Max or the Sodi did I feel like I ever got that corner quite right. It seemed to be very low grip there, and I just seemed to be losing a reasonable amount of time there as well. So not really sure why that was, but never mind. Looking over the shoulder again, obviously we are all backed up again. We spent probably about 3 laps, I think it was, under a full course yellow whilst they removed the stricken car, and the poor old driver had to walk back to the pits to get another kart. So we were delayed a little bit there, so we will have a slightly shorter amount of time to be racing and battling. But actually, as I started on pole and I've retained the position up until this point, that's no problem for me. It's not really the attitude, is it? But selfishly, if this race were to finish under yellows now, that would do me absolutely fine. We are, of course, fighting for a championship, and sort of any wins, any points that I can take will be always very, very gratefully received. So it's just about trying to keep it as neat and tidy as possible. I'm trying to take more later apexes, maybe carry a little bit more speed in, and carry some carry the momentum through towards a later apex. But again, I'm having to go defensive. I was having to go onto the bit of mud there from where it obviously has been raining a little while ago. Again, going wide there. We've got Philip Babalau on our left-hand side. He was very, very quick today, doing a very good job. And we have track position though. We've got track position on the right-hand side and the right-hand side here again, but we know that he's going to come back at us. There he is. In actual fact, I think this is Sebastian. Sebastian's another very, very quick driver. We brake really, really late and go all the way around the outside. That gives us track position for this left-hander. Someone else coming up the left-hand side. They're all over me. They are swarming all over me. This reminds me a little bit of the Trulli train. So anyone who doesn't know, anyone who's maybe a bit too young, as Philip Babalau goes up the left-hand side of us, and unfortunately there's nothing more we can do about that. And you can see there he's gapped us by about 2 kart lengths just on that straight alone, and I get the exit all wrong there, but again he just accelerates away from us. But as I was saying, the Trulli train, Jarno Trulli was a driver, a Formula 1 driver, who was just absolutely exceptional in qualifying. He was really, really good, and he would normally outperform the car and qualify way up the grid, and unfortunately we get a bit of contact there, and that lets a few more drivers through. Really frustrating. This is the last lap, and unfortunately there's the checkered flag. We have, we were up until the last couple of corners there in second. So yeah, I have to be honest, a little bit frustrating to lose all those positions as a result of contact, but a little bit of rubbings racing, and we have to accept it and move on. Jarno Trulli, he would start the race way up the grid, but his race pace wasn't terribly good, and everyone would be packed behind him trying to get through. So this is heat 2 now. And because we started first in heat 1, we're starting last in heat 2, and almost I sort of prefer starting last, because you get to do the really fun stuff, which is of course overtaking. But like I said to you, I didn't feel particularly quick today, and we've got a kart that spun around there, so we've made up 2 or 3 positions as a result of other people's problems, and that, I'm afraid, is going to be a little bit of a theme of today. When you're not quick, all you can do is try your very best to sort of capitalise on other people's mistakes. You can see there that there's nothing particularly wrong, and we had to go on the curb there because there was a car in front of us who had spun just at the apex, and that's kind of terrifying actually, because you're coming out there about 50-55 miles an hour. So I had to go onto the curb, and that pushed me into Will in front of us, but fortunately nothing, we both lived to tell the tale. So up 4 paces now. But like I was saying, if you're not quick, you've just got to try and stay out of trouble. And I was speaking to a couple of guys afterwards and saying, well, there was quite a lot of contact today, quite a lot of aggressive driving, but actually I avoided most of it because I was so slow that I was I had enough time to pick my way through any of the problems that we had. So we seem to be okay on the brakes, but I have had a look at some other footage from people who were here today, and I can see that perhaps there was even a little bit more time to be had in some of the braking zones. But we've got This is we've got Stuart Pemble in front of us. We've got Will and Stuart Pemble. So Stuart is dad, and Will is the son, the young protege. We're going to go up the inside of Stuart here, but he brakes really, really late. Fair play, well done, and he hangs it around the outside. So we're going to have to do the same thing, leave him room on the inside, go all the way around the outside. A slight tap on the rear there, just as the momentum carried him out, but we get the job done, and we are through, and we are up and going to be bearing down on the rest of the field. But you can see just there how much time we've lost already, just by having to take a bit of evasive action and fight with drivers. You can see that we were sort of we've gained back a little bit of time now through that section, but we were almost an entire length of the circuit behind this group in front of us who were all battling together. So work to do here, and we've just got to try and get our head down and be as clean as possible. Now, looking back at that corner there particularly, I can see that I'm not really troubling the apexes too much, and the reason that I was doing that was I was experimenting. I was feeling like if I could miss the apex but keep the engine revs up and keep a bit more speed in the rotation of the Kart engine and the wheels, that I was going to get a little bit more power out of the corner. Now, I've no idea if that was working or not. There are some corners where you do want to hit the apex, like that one there, because there's very little grip on the outside. This one here as well, is quite important to set that one up well so that you can get a good corner and apex and exit for this kind of mini infield straight here. But again, we've got some carnage up ahead of us, and by virtue of being so far behind, we have managed to quite easily pick our way through there. So again, good fortune there for us, really. We wouldn't, I'm sure, have caught those guys had we had to try and battle them on track. So just a good deal of fortune. But again, we've got probably about halfway through the race here at this point, and there are some drivers ahead that we could potentially pick up, but we have a yellow flag. So again, hand in the air there, just to show the marshals that we are racing. Not racing, and we've got our. We've seen the yellow flag, but I can't see that there's another yellow at the moment. But yes, actually now there is. So we're just going to roll off the throttle again, and there you can see up ahead we have a red flag. So we're going to come to a stop here now. Red flag means stop. Normally I would sort of stop immediately, but I just rolled off the throttle there, because if the driver behind you hasn't seen and you're doing 55 miles an hour, then they are going to cream into the back of you, and it's going to be an airplane crash. So I just really kind of gently roll off the throttle, turn around to make sure there's no one behind me, and then come to a stop so that it's nice and safe. And actually, this is the end of the heat here, and we were all gridded up, ready for the final, and given a bit of a bollocking actually, because the race direction felt that we weren't respecting the yellow flags enough. Everyone in the field not slowing down enough, and that's fair enough. There were marshals out on track trying to repair the barrier from the accident that you saw in the previous lap, and that of course means that when there's marshals on track, you have to be really aware of their safety. So no complaints there. I don't think that we would have, as we're just getting some information about what's happening there, I don't think that we would have caught this group in front of us anyway. So I think that's one of the it's just one of those things. So we've come 5th in Heat 1 and 7th in Heat 2, so a bit of an average day to be honest so far, but we're going to grid up for the final in just a moment, so I will speak to you again then. Okay, welcome back, and this is now the final. Grid positions are determined by your fastest lap across the day, and as you can see, there are a lot of people in front of us, which is really not great. we've got aspirations to do really well in this championship, but you can see that we've just not been putting in good enough lap times today, and we're now way down the field. So we've got it all to do. We are just rolling up for the green flag here, and we are off, and we're going to go into the right-hander, throw it up the inside of a couple, but the inside turns into the outside, but by virtue of getting good drive off that corner, we are up one position. Now it's all a bit of a mess just up at the sort of the third turn there, but we're going to try and do our best to pick off anyone who makes a bit of a mistake. And as these karts are going side by side, it's an opportunity here for us to try and get or make a position or two. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit of oversteer on the exit of the corner here, and Anthony Unit goes up the inside of Justin Hammond, and I think he was unsighted, hits Anthony Taylor. As these guys are all battling together, as Anthony apologises, we try to take advantage, but we don't do it. We get onto the wrong, less grippy part of the track, and we lose a place, and we're potentially going to lose another place here. Really frustrating. Luckily, the circuit then goes left, but we are down a place. We're going to do our best to make it back, as the driver in front of us makes a mistake. It's very easy to do that around that corner. We take that place back, but we've lost several seconds to these guys who we were battling with just one lap ago. Very easy to do that around that corner where you saw our rival make a mistake there. It's very, very slippery around there. But that's good fortune to us. And as I said to you earlier, based on today's pace and performance, unfortunately, it looks like we're just going to have to make our positions up by staying out of trouble and capitalising on anyone else's mistake, which is really kind of not ideal. It's not really what we want to be, not what we want to be aspiring to. And as I said earlier, I felt really, really good coming into this race. I won the Saudi heavyweight division pretty comfortably, and I suppose I've got a good kart in that, and maybe a less competitive one here, but you can't blame the kart. You've got to try and do your best, and I am wondering whether my driving style suits the Saudi karts a little bit more. I'm not sure, but all you can do is the absolute best you can with the equipment at your disposal. And we've got Justin Hammond and Anthony Unit ahead of us here now. Anthony Unit is a very quick driver. He is a former heavyweight champion of this class, and Justin Hammond is returning to karting after sort of a period of absence, and he is today doing an absolutely fantastic job. His I think by far is his best showing. He's had some mechanical issues which perhaps have prevented him from making the podium in previous races, but he's doing a really, really great job today, he's very, very quick. All we can do is try and cling on to these guys who are clearly faster than us, but if they battle, we might be able to make some kind of or develop some kind of advantage over them. And you can see that just around that sort of quite fiddly section there, that slow speed section, and this corner here, we're perhaps doing okay, but it's this part of the track where we seem to be really losing out. This straight doesn't seem to be going our way, and like I said to you earlier, I think the low range or the pull out of the corners in this kart wasn't great. I didn't feel that the grip levels were particularly good either. But as always, if you've got any hints, suggestions, then please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'd love to know how to improve more quickly. And just as we're doing our best to draw up to these guys in front of us, I'm going to get a little bit of advice and have some of my footage analysed by a guy called Nicky Richardson. Now, he is someone who used to race against Lewis Hamilton. He's one of the most well-respected kart drivers and coaches in the country. So I'm going to have him analyse the footage. There is, of course, a fee for this, but I'm really hoping that he can make some suggestions as to how I can improve. When I first started karting about 3 years ago or so, I was put off by the cost of hiring a coach. I believe Sandown Park do some coaching as well. I believe that they still do offer it. I'm not sure though, you'd have to check. I believe last time when I checked, I think it was a few £100, but you do spend a day here understanding the various lines and the carts and understanding how all of these basically how to put really, really good lap time in. As we've got yellow flags again, we have a back marker in the barrier. That barrier seemed to be visited with enthusiasm from a number of people over the course of today. It seemed to be the marshals were in there trying to fish people out most of the time. Really important that we don't try and gain or lose any time on the drivers around us as a result of yellow flags. I think that's one of the things that the drivers are always really worried about. If you slow down for a yellow flag and someone cruises up behind you and then overtakes you in the next corner, that's going to be really, really frustrating. That has actually happened to me before, but the guys at Daytona are now really, really hot on that, and they are checking your lap times to make sure that you're not gaining under yellow flags unfairly. So just chasing the guys in front of us. Again, we're going to try our best to pick up any scraps that we can, and it's important on a day when you don't have the pace to think about the championship a little bit and just try and ensure that you are not it's a bit of damage limitation basically, isn't it? Damage limitation. As I said before, I'm really enjoying driving the Sodis at the moment, and I think the reason for that is that there's a lot of flex in the chassis. I find it really, really easy to kind of get the Sodi chassis on rails, cock one of the rear tyres and just swing it around the corner, whereas with the D-Max chassis I find it really, really stiff, I don't know. I don't appear to have the same kind of feel in the D-Max. Now that's not always been the case. I felt that at sort of various points in the past the D-Max chassis has been a little bit kind of more flexible, and certainly I think that is in my case at least, being able to feel the chassis flex slightly. It gives you loads and loads of feedback on how close to the limit you are, and it also allows you to get to the limit and not overstep it, and I think that is where I'm making my time in the Sodi Kart. Now, I said to you earlier that I'm a heavyweight, and actually I came second on the road in the Sodi Kart, and only beaten by one lightweight driver, a very, very talented lightweight driver named Ian, and he's been down at Sandown Park for many years. I don't know this for sure, but I'd imagine he has won multiple titles around here, and he wasn't far ahead of me actually, and I think my driving style, maybe it's my driving style, maybe it's I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just the equipment I had. Maybe I had a good car. To be fair, he is lighter than me, and he didn't appear to be gapping me on the straights, so presumably I had a better engine in my car than him. You would expect to be, if you're carrying a bit more weight, to not be quite so quick on the straights, albeit you do have a little bit more grip in the corners, so it's not always a disadvantage. I know people sort of tend to think that the heavier you are, the bigger the disadvantage you have, and yes, it is true to an extent. Certainly you saw in Heat 1 Philip Babalao just driving away from me in that infield straight there, so that's always pretty tricky, but I think we do have you do also have some reasonable grip if you're a slightly heavier driver, and I suspect that's why we're doing quite well around this fiddly infield section of the alternate layout here. Now this is always a challenge and also an opportunity. We have two back markers ahead of us. Now they aren't that far away from each other, so presumably these guys are not going to want to lose any time. You also don't have any wing mirrors on the kart, so these guys don't necessarily know that we are here, although Justin gives the guy ahead just a slight tap to let him know that we're here. I try the outside line here, but you hear me groaning because I realise that there's just not enough grip out there, and you see how much time I've lost just by being on the wrong part of the track. There's just really not enough grip around there, and Justin now is able to put some distance between myself and him. We've got a back marker in the way. I get on the wrong part of the track again, and it really was very slippery offline. Now actually, as we go up the inside of the first back marker and then manage to get up to the back of these other guys. Now we've got a kart in the barrier. Now this is a guy that we're racing. I believe it's Andy Taylor who's found his way into the barrier there, so that is up another position, and that is some good fortune to us. So I know that we're driving a little bit within ourselves, but it's so easy to overstep the mark, particularly around that corner, as we've got some yellow flags again. So hands up. Have we? No, we haven't actually. Looks like another one of those situations where the yellow came out and then was withdrawn again straight away. So it gave us an opportunity there to have a run on Justin, but he defends well. Sticks it around the outside, which obviously turns into the inside of the next corner. Now in the Sodi race this morning, Sodi race, you get here for 9:30. If you just do, as we get a massive hit actually, wave our arms in the air. For me, that's a bit of advantage by contact. Advantage by contact, ABC. So I'm waving my arms in the air, hoping that the marshals see. Now the marshals don't actually see either or consider that to be a problem. It's one of those things, I think, isn't it? I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose. He did put his hand up to apologise, and the way I see it, if you can't handle a little bit of contact, then you shouldn't really come karting. Although I would never ever sort of try to put someone in a barrier or anything like that, or drive unfairly. You've got to also recognise that accidents can sometimes happen when everyone's pushing to the limit, and there's no hard feelings there. It's just one of those things. Like I was saying this morning, Sodi Kart round, there was actually some rain, not heavy rain, and because it's quite warm, the track dried really quickly, but the track is quite green. There's not a huge amount of grip up there, so given that it's a dry track, we're not doing particularly quick dry times. As you can see, the two karts ahead of us again battling. I'm just not close enough to take advantage of, as we've got another yellow flag, so coming off the gas again. Is there someone else in our favourite barrier? No, yellow flags have been rescinded, so we're racing again. It looked like the marshal had just come back from repairing that barrier actually. Just not quite quick enough, although we're hoping to take advantage of any battling that's going on. You can see that even though these guys are battling, we just don't appear to be with them, which is unfortunate and disappointing. But sometimes you just have days like this, and that's just something that you have to accept. So I believe at this point we are fifth in class. Okay, so we're fifth in class at the moment. Now that's not great. That's not great because we've got another yellow flag, and actually Andy Taylor loses it under braking there. I think it's one of those moments where he just panicked slightly and locked up. So fifth in class, not great. It's just become fourth in class, and I believe that we're on our last lap now actually, so there's a slight opportunity because of that yellow flag and because of Andy losing it. We've got an opportunity here. Now we've got a slow moving kart. That's Andy Unit, who's another heavyweight driver. Now there wasn't any yellow flags, but I saw that he had just come to a stop, and I panicked then. Very easy to do, and I locked the rears, and I hit the back mark there as well, so apologies to him. Commiserations to Andy Unit. on the last lap we actually went from 5th in class to 3rd, so although we didn't have a great day today, we have actually kind of rescued it in the final. Now this is by far and away the worst showing of the season so far, but to still get a 3rd place is pretty good.